Today, I wanted to take you through some of the most basic forms of breathing that many of us are not doing. And so, our breath informs everything about our reality. It informs how our nervous system interacts with reality, and our reality is only reflecting the state of our nervous system. And so, there's two different nervous system branches that you can reside in. There's sympathetic and there's parasympathetic. So for many of us, we are often in the sympathetic state where our nervous system is constantly on alert. And so it comes from living in a modern day world. It comes from not really knowing how to breathe well. And so what we're really going to do today is to learn how to move the breath into a parasympathetic nervous system state. And so the parasympathetic system is when we rest, when we digest, when our whole body opens up to be able to receive. Now, this is the state we should be in almost all of the time. So what we want to do is to retrain our body to be in this nervous system state so that the things that are coming to us in our realities are more abundance, more overflow, because that's when the receptive qualities come in. When we're always stressed out, we're going to be sitting in fear. And so this is shallow breathing. This is not breathing into the belly. This is really when we're always on the lookout, when we're in fight, flight, or freeze. And so what we want to do is to not operate our entire day from that state, because what happens is we attract in more things to be afraid of, more things to make us feel lack, more things to make us feel like we're in scarcity. So by moving into the parasympathetic nervous system, we really allow ourselves to receive the gifts of life. And so more gifts of life will come. So this is a very easy breathwork practice that you can do before you go to bed, that you can do in the morning. I really recommend you setting a timer on your phone if it's possible, and literally just tuning in and doing it every couple of hours and just reminding yourself to just breathe this way. And so all you need really is a yoga mat or a bed or anything that you're going to be comfortable on, and you're going to lay down. And so when you lay down here, this is going to be the easiest way to learn how to breathe naturally, because if you have been breathing quite shallow your whole life, if you sit back all the time, the psoas will tend to tighten up because there's no air, which is buoyancy, which is openness, coming down into your lower body. And so when the psoas tighten up, especially if you're used to sitting back on your tail and arching your lower back, like how I would be into the mat right now, the psoas will constrict your breathing because the top part of the psoas muscle is attached to your T12, which is the bottom thoracic spine. And when they're tight, it doesn't let us bring our breath down into our diaphragm. So this is a really great way to understand the mechanics of the breath in a way where your psoas aren't working. So bend your knees up and let them fall together. So let your feet be nice and wide, wider than hip distance. You should reach your arms alongside your body, and your heel should just touch your middle finger. And this will put your leg bone at a 90-degree angle, so you don't have to use any muscles to hold your legs here. So turn your heels out, and what this does is it rolls the thighs in towards the midline of the body, and this opens up the sacral plate on the back. So this really lets the psoas release, and when we can release the psoas, we can take deeper breaths into the belly. We can begin to open up this whole space. So I like to bring my hands over my head when I'm doing breath work, because when we can bring our hands above our head, it actually opens up our lungs. And so when our lungs are open on the front of the body, there's just more space for air to enter. So grab hold of your opposite elbow. So one hand on the center of the elbow, or sorry, one elbow in the center of its opposite palm of the hand, and vice versa. And then as you inhale, you're going to take the breath all the way down to your belly. And just breathe a couple breaths just for a moment to notice where your breath tracks. So breathe through your nose. And just notice kind of where your breath wants to go initially without you really changing anything. You can close your eyes. So now what I want you to do is to really focus on filling your body up like a beaker. So when you inhale, first take the breath all the way down to your pelvic floor between your pubis and your coccyx. Fill up your whole belly with breath. Let that rise up the whole front of the body to the fronts of the ribs, the sternum, the whole chest, collarbones, all the way up, so you feel totally full. And what you should notice is that your back is actually arching off of the ground as the front of your body fills with more air. And then as you exhale, you can let it out the mouth, let it all go, and you'll notice that your whole back descends back down to the ground. And so when you're here, you should really be feeling your lower back and your neck are lifted off the mat. And this is the neutral positioning of the spine. This is how the spine should be when you're standing, when you're sitting, so that you can breathe effortlessly. So keep breathing like that for a few breaths. As you inhale, really notice the breath going down to the pelvic floor. So our pelvic floor actually releases down on the inhale. So the pubis and the coccyx will move away from one another. And then as you fill with more air, the diaphragm, which separates the lungs and the heart from the lower abdominal cavity, moves down. It's a big dome. As your lungs fill with air. And then as you exhale, the diaphragm lifts up and the pelvic floor lifts up. So the pubis and the coccyx come closer together. And you can accentuate that by actually exhaling more air out than you think you can. And you'll actually feel your lower back start to press down as your pelvic floor lifts up. And so this starts to create fluidity in the spine. So again, inhale, fill up. Feel the pelvic floor release down on the inhale. The diaphragm release down on the inhale, the breath rising all the way up the front of the body, the back arching off of the ground, except your two shoulder blades are still on the ground in your sacrum, in the back of your head. And then as you exhale, all the air comes out, all. So get out more air than you think you can. So you're getting out any stale air. Exhale, 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 exhale. And you should feel, again, your lower back pressing down into the mat, the pelvic floor lifting up, the diaphragm lifting up. So that full exhale will feel like a contraction inside of you. And then again, you inhale. Bring the breath down to your belly, let your pelvic floor release down. Breath fills up your whole belly up to your sternum, your diaphragm's releasing down. Your lungs are filling with air in 360 degrees all the way up to your collarbones. Fuller than you think you can get. Breathe in and in and in. And then exhale, release. As your back descends back down to the ground. As all the air empties your body, as your diaphragm lifts up, your pelvic floor lifts up, and the lower back presses down. And so naturally, you'll notice by watching your breath here and by doing this practice, you will actually start to breathe deeper and longer. So you'll take less inhales and less exhales, but they'll be lengthened per minute. And so as humans, we breathe about 16 to 18 breaths per minute, right? Everything in nature that breathes quickly and rapidly lives shorter. And so when we want to manipulate the breath, we start to play with the longevity, right? When we slow down our breath, we slow down our mind, we slow down our heart rate, we move into this parasympathetic state that just lets us receive life. And there's so much of life for us to receive. It never ends. And so as you keep breathing like this, and you keep nuancing your breath and taking bigger inhales as you find more and more space in your body, and longer exhales as you release more and more from your body. You will notice all of your body unwind. And you start to bring in some fluidity to your psoas muscles, to your diaphragm, to your pelvic floor. And you can really accentuate it too. So as you inhale, you can actually arch your lower back off the mat. It'll feel like your head is coming closer towards your legs. And then as you exhale, you can press your lower back down. And when you go back and forth like this, inhale to arch your lower back off the mat and exhale to press it down, you're going to begin to open up your hips, your psoas, your whole pelvis and sacrum. right, in a completely different way. And so if you do have tightness and tension down in your lower body, this is one of the best ways to begin to release the tension, to link your breath to this movement. And then as you press your lower back down and get all the air out, you can really pull up your pelvic floor so that we're also increasing the circulation and the awareness of our pelvic floor. And this is like the seat of us. This is the root of our being. And so when we can learn to retain our energy here, right, this energy can begin to move up the spine and can begin to energize the body and the mind. The pelvis is the seat of our primal desires, our primal being, our first securities. So good. And so anytime you ever feel like your breath is short, you feel stressed out, you feel like you can't sleep, you feel like you just need to connect in with your natural, organic, innate breath. This is the best practice you can do. You can do it for as little as you want, you can do it for as long as you want, but what it will do is it will put you into the receptive state that your body really needs to receive life, right? And so I hope you enjoy it. I hope you do it. I hope you set a timer on your phone and notice the changes that it makes in your life. Notice the changes in how you stand and how you walk. Notice the changes that when you're placed in a stressful situation, you can actually implement this breath so that even if the situation is stressful, you don't need to react from a stressful place. And that is key. And that's why we do this work and these practices, is that life will always be stressful. Life will always be demanding, but it's about you, your skills, your technique, your ability to show up to life and to rise to the challenges and to regulate your own nervous system so that even though life is hard, it's not taxing you, right? You have the skills and the facility to embody your own power, to embody your own vitality. So enjoy the breath, enjoy your day,